Hi, today I want to do one more mapping related, which is involved with mapping variables, incremental time storm, set max functioning. With these mapping variables, I want to load data from source table to staging area. Here, uh, src employees src employees is my source table, which contains 110 records, and here there is no staging table, so I am creating staging table in my database staging schema. Yeah, currently there is no data. I want to insert data into this staging table by implementing mapping variable property in Informatica. So I want to introduce mapping variable property and setmax value function and incremental time storm. So let's see. Here I am dragging the source. Source table is the employees table. Employees source search employees is my source table. Yeah, previously I performed one time, so I want to replace, so just I'm replacing. And target, import from staging schema, and my target table only one table is there. Previously I already performed this operation, so I'm replacing. Mapping, I want to create mapping m_stg employees with mapping variable property. So okay, now drag the source, drag the target. So here I am introducing one mapping variable. Here in that mapping section, parameters and variables, here you can create parameter and variable, mapping variable. The mapping variable name is incremental time storm. To insert the latest records, incremental time storm, and it's a variable, and it's a date variable, and date I am setting 01 to 01 1900. Any date you can give, but this is the the date must be less than the first record date, first transaction date of the record. So 1900 will be very lowest date. Just for example only I am taking, you can take any lowest date of the first record in first record source table. So I am taking here the employees data. Here the date reference I am giving. Okay, so and now take one expression transformation to assign set max value maximum date, to get the maximum date to assign the maximum date to the incremental time storm mapping variable, to assign the maximum date to the mapping variable. So I am drawing all the fields, and I want to create one mapping on flag, variable flag, FLAG flag. It's a date variable. So I am clicking here to assign the maximum date to the mapping variable. So set max variable function, assigns the variable. What is the variable? Incremental TSN transaction, right? Validated. This function will assign get the maximum date from both the fields, which is greater than that value will assign to increment mapping variable. mapping variable. This property, this function will assign the maximum value to the mapping variable in both these two fields. These two fields, which is greater than that value will assign to the mapping variable. That is what I want to say. Okay, apply. Okay, see, let's drag all these two. Before that, to get that maximum transaction date, in source qualifier we have to generate properties, the SQL query, generate SQL query, where transaction date is greater than incremental timestamp. Here this query gives the records. Query gives the records which transaction date is greater than incremental timestamp value. Incremental timestamp is a date, so I took the transaction date. If that transaction date is greater than incremental timestamp date, minimum date is 01/01/1900 I assign. 1900 I assign. So from that date it take it as a reference, and from that date, if transaction date is greater than that date, incremental timestamp date, then the record will insert into the target. Later, every time, every session, this date, incremental timestamp date will change. That is the main property of incremental timestamp mapping variable. Mapping variable main functioning is it changes its value after end of the every session and saves the value in the repository. The integration service saves the mapping variable value in repository to the next session. That is the main property, main definition of mapping variable. So okay, apply. Okay, now control S here, parsing completed with no errors, updated, and mapping variable is invalid. Mapping variable is invalid. Why? Changes. Okay, generate workflow, reusable session, target table is from staging area. Okay, configure staging properties, bulk to normal, always truncate and load. Staging a table should be always truncate and load. Okay, next, finish. Now refresh that workflow monitor, workflow manager. Refresh it, disconnect and connect. Now check it in this folder, workflows, property, the tool, workflow designer. Check it, run the workflow. Succeeded. So let's check it, the staging table. Okay, count rows, 110 records inserted. For the first run to enter this first record into the table, the incremental timestamp date will be 01/01/1900 it will take. 1900 it will take for the first for the first to enter the first row into the data target table. Later it will take that incremental date reference date as 01 06 16 07 17 06 June 16. So the June 17 16 16 will be the next reference date. From this date it will check and enter the next record. Like that it will check and enter the next record. And for the what is the last date, you can check it. 1505 will be the last date. It will saves this date. The Informatica integration service will saves this date, stores this date to the next run. So where you can check here, check view persistence. Here in view persistence, incremental timestamp date will be 05/15/2017. Here you can reset this. I will tell about this reset value. This for the next run, this date will be the reference date. So okay, and I want to add a few more records to the second run. 7 records I want to add to the source table. This is the source table, employees SRC, and set. And let's check how many records are there. In previous run it is 110, now it will be 117 records are there. No need to disturb any mappings here. The date will automatically assign, so you can restart the session, restart the workflow. Succeeded. Let's check that staging table, how many records are there. See, 7 records only, because staging table is always truncate and load, and it will take that reference date 15/05/2017, and next date will be 16/05/17. Check here, you can check view persistence 05/16/2017, and you can check in properties log, session logs also. Session logs, see that previous reference date is mapping variable property is 05/15/2017. It will take this from this. Later see for next third run, add few more records to the source tab. Let's check it, the records. 127 records are there, but in staging table only 7 records are there. And run this session again, restart, check the workflow. What is the reference date? 16 will be the reference date. Now how many records are there? 10 records. Latest 10 records will be into the target table, and the persistent value is 18/05. And for the next run, persistent value is 18/05/18. Okay, now in this way you can load. You have to load the latest records into staging area. From staging area you have to load the data into dimension tables. Dimension to fact table you have to load. This is the actual workflow, in real-time workflow, from source to staging area, staging to dimension tables, dimension to fact tables. This is the actual workflow. In this way you have to load the records in real-time scenario. If you want all the records into the staging table at a time, after all the runs, just reset the persistence value, because all the records are there in 127 records are there in target table. If you want all these 127 records into the staging table, just reset the value, persistent value. Where is this? Persistent value. Reset the values, and it will again that incremental date will be 01/01/1900 as we given in the starting of the mapping creation. Okay, again Control S, we need to do Control S, again run it, run the restart, succeeded. Let's see in staging table, here 10 records, latest 10 records. Now 127 records will be there. Check it, 127 records are there. In this way we can utilize that variable property, mapping variable property. Mapping variable property is nothing but it changes its value after every session, and it stores the value in repository. Integration services, Informatica integration services stores the mapping variable value in repository to the next session. Okay, this is the main property of mapping variable. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you gain some you will gain some knowledge from this mapping. Thank you so much.